are back, baby, for another episode of Money Moves. We got a lot of moving going around in the market.
Lots
going up.
I'd say it's moving. Well, it's been choppy the past couple of days, but so far been going up.
We've got a lot of news, a lot of updates as we're closing out the end of the year. A lot of stuff going on kind of globally, politically. I think everybody's, starting to wrap their head and their hands around the fact that Trump and his administration are putting in work right now. It's almost interesting to see how he is. There's been a lot of people that have said, like, it's almost as if Biden's already gone. Like, he's absent. Like, the White House, I forget what article I was reading. I think it was out of CNN. But they were saying how the White House is like a vacuum right now. Like, everything that was Biden is like, just gone. It's been sucked out. And it's like almost as if Trump is already kind of leading without actually being in there and inaugurated yet.
It definitely looks like it because he's meeting with world leaders, announcing policy changes, initiatives that he's going to get behind. So I'm very excited.
The only thing that Trump is actually, or Biden is actually doing right now is sleeping in meetings with world leaders. I don't know if you saw that video. It was pretty funny. There was additional announcements for more aid to and weapons to Ukraine, aid to Africa. That was a curveball.
I didn't see that one coming.
And now with the Assad regime falling in Syria, additional support and aid going to Syria. Another curveball.
That was also, well, I mean, like, it's like, why are we, I don't know if it's a curveball, but it's definitely a question of why anytime somebody has conflict. Now, this one, a very big head scratcher because it's conflicting parties that we don't like and don't like us. But somehow, how do we even have channels to get those people money? I just think when I think about this stuff, it's like, oh, I don't like you.
Those are the head scratchers.
By the way, I know I just sent something over to your finance department. Thanks, buddy.
Like,
I don't know how that happens.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that there's money laundering going on, but
well, that's what it looks like.
But there's a lot of stuff that would point to that being potentially the case.
Yeah.
Using shell entities, vehicles. I want to pull it up. There was a crazy statistic on, let me see if I can find it, but there was a crazy statistic around NGOs.
Non-government
organizations
okay.
And how we are sending money to NGOs to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars a week. I mean, it was pretty insane. I'm gonna see if I can find that, because when I did read through kind of this document, and I mean, essentially there was a guy that, man, God bless X and Twitter. Yep. The amount of people,
so much good data on there,
that go down rabbit holes and create threads in there that are not just your random weird, conspiracy theorists. Like, these are real people doing investigative journalism, and they're coming with receipts. Mm-hmm. And now, mind you, of course, you always got to take everything with a grain of salt. Stuff could be manipulated digitally. Stuff could be manipulated, with video now and AI and all of this kind of stuff. But then there's just stuff that's undeniable, right? This one was, NGOs are being cut a check for $600 million every 2 to 3 months. And the Department of Homeland Security is actually sending electronic fund transfers. This was a whistleblower out of the DHS. 600 million U.S. taxpayer dollars sent to NGOs every 2 to 3 months. And this particular whistleblower was saying that 600 million and these NGOs were 100% only focused on illegal immigrants. That's staggering. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that you think about and you look at and go, this is why Americans are pissed off and fed up. Like, if I'm going to be working a third of my year and giving my money to the government and it's going to shit like that, I got a problem with that. That's a problem.
Yeah, and I think the American people kind of caught on to the Democrats' reasoning for wanting so many immigrants and wanting to allow no voter ID. It's like, you put enough of these ingredients in the pot, you got a cake. So it's open the borders, let people in, allow them to vote without registering or being legal citizens, and convince them and give them as many benefits as we can, and kind of like more than we should, so they think that this gravy train just continues, and we're gonna kind of steal their vote in that way. And as weird as it sounds, like to think that that's reality, that's just the facts of what happened.
It's been proven.
I'm not even without an opinion.
It's not theory anymore.
That's just what happened, and the hot spots for it are Democrat ran and led most of the time major cities or states.
Yep.
And so it's wild. There's a lot of things that Democrats do that are good, and that both are bipartisan. But man, just some of that kind of stuff, that would be completely inappropriate for Republicans to do, and it's completely inappropriate for anybody to think that that's going to lead to anything beneficial long term for the United States. All it does is put people in that are not contributing to a system and stresses the system out, so we can't support the people that are supporting it.
100%.
Common sense.
Common sense. Well, you would think common sense would be able to see and discern that when somebody is saying that a group of people are doing something, but the person saying it is actually the one doing it, that person is a liar. I saw this video this week, and mind you, there's a lot of people who feel a certain type of way about Obama. Some people love him. Some people hate him. I think he's really well spoken.
Yeah, he's a great orator.
Correct. But I also know that over the course of the last few years, he's fallen from grace from a lot of people based on what he said and what has played out. And here is another example of why people are losing trust and confidence in leadership. Listen to what he says.
There are going to be times, potentially, when one side tries to stack the deck and lock in a permanent grip on power, either by actively suppressing votes or politicizing the armed forces or using the judiciary, the criminal justice system to go after opponents. And in those circumstances, pluralism does not call for us to just stand back and say, well, I'm not sure that's okay. In those circumstances, a line has been crossed. And
when you see and hear that, what comes to mind?
That's exactly what the current political establishment was doing to the incoming president.
Anybody with a head on their shoulders, 2 eyes, 2 ears, and a brain in between those.
I wouldn't say anybody, but most people should be able to.
You would think so, right? But this is why I think so many people voted. It was a clear mandate, and you saw what was, requested and demanded by the American people, because that kind of corruption and that kind of hypocrisy was just, people were fed up with that crap.
Yeah, and there's people want the America back that like you and I had when we grew up. You were late 80s, I was early 90s. No. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're late 80s, I'm early 90s. Yep. Essentially, we grew up in the same generation. Uh-huh. It was just, were things perfect? No. Was there conflict? Yes. Were things happening that shouldn't? Yes. But man, everybody got along a lot better.
Yeah.
That we didn't even have like this like Democrat Republican thing, It's but that's what it's come to. And it's extreme versions of those represented on both sides. It's people in the middle that get it. It's people on the fringes that don't. But ultimately, you have to remember that the political establishment just wants to keep us fighting each other, because the more that we fight each other, the more that we're distracted from the people that are causing that issue. So we're essentially distracted. That's what typically happens, in my opinion.
Agreed.
And that's how they, somehow we have politicians that still do insider trading, and it's like blatantly obvious from my point of view, but we don't do anything about it. And they affect industries that they sit on chairs and regulatory boards for. So just that kind of stuff, that cronyism.
It's
just
so crazy
hurts.
how such a small select few control so much and impact so much and do such a great job of making us feel divided and different, when at the end of the day, like, the majority of us, the majority of the human population, and just, we'll just keep it to the United States, man, we're all so similar in so many different ways.
Way
We may
more.
look different.
Yeah.
We may come from different backgrounds and different resources and different, but at the end of the day, like, we all are so similar and want so many of the same things.
More in common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting to see how we have found so much difference and division than we have unity. And that's where I think the mainstream media, right, the leaders that we appoint, and the way they are able to manipulate the truth and what so many people believe to be true is what drives us apart. But I'm hoping that obviously over the course of, the next 4 years, we can focus on more unity, more shared and common goals. I really believe that this is one of those once in a lifetime administrations and swings that this is not about Donald Trump anymore. This is about all the people that are showing up for their country, not because they like Donald Trump, but because they believe in an American first mission. And we got way far away from that. And that was what was at stake here. And to see Time just came out with their person of the year shortlist. We've got Kamala Harris on that list, Kate Middleton. Thought that was interesting. Elon Musk, Benjamin Netanyahu, Jerome Powell, Joe Rogan made the list. Claudia Scheinbaum, who's that?
No idea.
Donald Trump, Mark Zuckerberg, and Yulia Navalnaya. So I would say that the three that I think have, at least from my perspective,
Elon,
Trump. I would even throw RFK in that mix. He wasn't on the list, but he's transforming, I think, health and big pharma.
Joe Rogan would be an interesting pick because he's not a typical pick.
Right.
But he is very influential. Yeah.
His influence was shown to be something that, this is the beauty of podcasting and personal brands and the world that we live in. It shows that it's not just all about, dancing in the middle of a train station to get eyeballs and likes. Like, you talk about real shit that real people care about, that really impacts their lives, their health, their family, their finances. You have the ability to garner attention unlike anything we've ever seen.
Yep.
And I mean, when you're, as big as the next 5 news biggest outlets behind you, just from one person, I think it shows that authenticity, integrity. Not saying he's perfect, not saying I agree with all of his opinions, but just saying, like, that's what people are seeking is truth right now. Like, people want just to be able to say something that is actually true and not get canceled, not get ostracized, and just to be able to have a conversation around it.
Yep.
This was something that I thought was really interesting. This was on the topic of truth. You can pull this video up, Tone. This is Candace Owens, who actually flirted around making a 2028 presidential run, or even later down the road, with Thomas Massey. Mm-hmm. She's kind of throwing her name, like, hey, if Alexandria AOC is going to throw her name in the hat, like, let's
see if I can do the same.
Yeah, I'll do the same. Not sure if she's serious or joking, but she was on Nick Cannon's show. Depending on her delivery and whether you like her or not, she's so fucking smart and sharp, and how she delivers stuff may be a little rough for some people. But here is a discussion around truth and coming out of the season of wokeness and being on eggshells with everything and people trying to cancel people. Here's what she had to say about this.
Of course, respectfully. If you say to me you should respect people, I always respect people. I would disrespect you if I lied to you. I'm not going to call a man a woman. I'm not going to call a woman a man. I'm not going to say sorry for telling the truth.
Your beliefs.
It's not my belief. A woman cannot be a man, and a man cannot be a woman. It's not a belief.
But I'm saying in your perception of the world is different from someone else's perspective, because just as emphatic as you are, that you believe what you just said, there's someone that believes emphatically the opposite.
Okay, so what you're talking about is the idea that everything can be subjective and there's no such thing as truth. And let me tell you why that. But that's why it's either a yes or a no.
No, because we're either talking about feelings or facts.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I believe there is objective truth. Okay.
Okay.
A person that is born a man, okay, a person that is born with a penis, as we call it, okay, cannot ever grow up and give birth. Do we agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, so there is such thing as an objective truth. I will not apologize for sharing objective truth. I'm not going to apologize for not saying because his feelings are hurt and do you
Well,
see how I
why?
feel? Because
Because so you have no problem going throughout the world hurting people's feelings.
I have no problem going out the world. That's one way to pitch it. Telling people the truth so that they can better their lives. So they can live in reality and not the one,
But
not
what
the
if
fantasy land that they're creating
someone
for their lives.
believes that that is a better life for them?
Okay, well, let's play it your way then. Let's do it the other way. There are a group of people who are now referring to themselves as minor attracted people.
Oh, I knew you was going. Can't go there.
Hey, but that's what they believe. They believe that they are in
it's
love
the
and
same
want to
people.
have sex with children. They believe that, Nick. They believe it. And are you going to apologize when you call them pedophiles? Are you going to apologize, Nick? Are you going to have them on your podcast?
It's a hell of a
Don't you
point.
understand how they feel on the inside when you say that they can't have sex with 8-year-olds?
That is a hell of a point.
It is the slippery slope is not a fallacy. It is reality. We are living the slippery slope. So somebody's going to have to produce the wall. There's going to be a lot of voices that need to be objective and tell people the truth. I'm very happy to be those voices. If you're looking for me to, make you feel good, I can't be your mommy. I can't.
So, I mean, she's not wrong, right?
No, she's not.
And that's just one topic. I think there's a lot of topics that people feel they've been lied to or forced into silence and hiding on. When at the end of the day, it's like that. What video is it or the movie? You can't handle the truth.
Oh,
Why am I blanking on that movie?
I am too now. I know what you're talking about, though.
But right at the end
So
of
do
the
our
day,
listeners.
when you think about how many people are so soft and sensitive because there's an opinion that differs from how they feel, but the fact is, this is the truth. This is where I think we're going to get some momentum, some strength, some power back, not only to the individual person, but to all groups that really care about finding truth and how that can actually make and improve your life so much better when you lean into that.
Yeah, and she's very well said. I think that objective truth should always stand out above anything. You're entitled to your opinion, right? There's a lot of people that go around and think the earth is flat, and they have a lot of opinions on why.
Mm-hmm.
They're entitled to it. Doesn't mean they're right. Doesn't mean they can't have that opinion. But it doesn't mean that I have to objectify myself to succumbing to their opinion and saying, well, I support it because, I don't want to be... No, honestly, they're idiots.
Mm-hmm.
But is that, am I going to make that my life's goal to, anybody that's a flat earther is an idiot? No. I'm just going to know that and be comfortable with that and move on with my life the way that it used to be. It's just this new thing where you have to support me. I need to be validated, and I need to be to the point where
We're swinging away from that.
even if it gets in the way of what you believe, even though I'm literally arguing that exact point on my end, you have to still do what I want, even though it's not what you want.
No.
Yeah, it's just a weird place to be in mentally. I feel bad for people who can justify that train of thought.
Well, truth is, we're in the season of truth. I think it's going to, more and more truth is going to continue to come out, whether that is Doge going in and exposing all of the stuff that's going on with the government, whether that is the Epstein or the Diddy list.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of that, and potentially more truth coming out, Jay-Z was accused of raping a 13-year-old girl in 2000 along with Diddy at an MTV VMAs after party. The alleged victim claims in a lawsuit she went to Radio City Music Hall and was approaching limousines, hoping to spot a celebrity when a driver told her that she fit what Diddy was looking for. The lawsuit alleges she was later taken to a party and raped by both men while others were watching. There's some weird dialogue going back and forth publicly between an attorney
And Jay-Z.
Jay-Z.
Yeah.
And he's like posturing and kind of like
Jay-Z
almost like
is
threatening him a little bit. It was weird.
Jay-Z is saying, like, this is black, and I'm not saying Jay-Z is guilty because I have no idea. That's what the court of law is for.
Yep.
That's what we'll have. But I mean, the lawyer is kind of saying, hey, man, we sent a very typical demand letter and we were trying to settle outside of court. Obviously, that's not what you want, but I'm not going to go back and forth on social media. We're just going to see you in court, and big boys fight in court. So we'll see you there.
Yep.
So that'll be interesting to see that unfold. He has quite a large war chest of money. So I would assume this is going to unfold over a long period of time.
Unless something then comes out sooner that
if
is
there's criminal
beyond this.
Yeah, there has to be like black and white evidence that's criminal that can be proven, and that expedites that process. But when you have one of the fallacies of the American justice system is the more money you have, you don't, just because you did it doesn't mean you're guilty. That's a real thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying I support that, just saying that is the way that the American justice system is set up. If you have enough money to drag enough time and catch the right jury to tell them your story, that's why appeals courts are so dangerous.
Speaking of danger, United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson gets gunned down in broad daylight early in the morning in New York City this last week. There's some pretty chilling surveillance footage of dude rolling up on him. I don't know if you can pull this up on the screen, but there's no sound to it. But he's walking to his hotel room. Dude walks up behind him with a backpack, hoodie on, mask on. He's got a gun with a silencer, walks up, unloads a handful more rounds into him, and then kind of just casually walks off, gets on a little bike. There's a lot of weird stuff going on around this case, and just seeing...
So weird that... It should a lot of weird things from that video that I saw. The fact that the gun keeps jamming.
There's a lot of stuff that doesn't add up, I guess.
Yeah.
Some fishy stuff I saw.
Typically, you see that with .22 caliber, and if it was a 9mm, they typically have enough kick to reload the round into the magazine, from the magazine into the chamber. And so normally, when you see that type of, it's very common for .22 caliber pistols to do that, but that's not the caliber of round that was found. I think it was 9mm. It also could have been a self-made gun that's not working good.
Some of what they said
3D printed could be it.
That's part of another theory.
So
there's all kinds of theories flying around. They did arrest this guy, by the way.
Yeah, I would not say that that's a high-quality manufactured firearm that's 9mm because it shouldn't be jamming like that.
So they arrested Luigi Mangione, an Ivy League grad with 130 IQ. What I found interesting was, and again, you can never take anything you see on the internet at face value, right? You really just got to, all right, here's some data to consume and take in. But Ivy League grad, 130 IQ, takes off his mask at Starbucks to flirt with an employee, ruins his anonymous status, right? An hour later, he calmly murders the United Healthcare CEO, rides off on a bicycle. A week later, he decides to show up at a McDonald's, carrying the exact same murder weapon, a fake ID used during the crime, and a written manifesto against the American healthcare system. Now, I'm not saying this isn't true. Maybe he is that guy, right?
Yeah.
He gets recognized by a cashier after sitting down, then works on his laptop, armed with a loaded gun and suppressor he made himself until police walk in, arrest him on the spot. I don't know. I guess there's a lot of questions of how does that make any sense? There's other videos of, if you pull this one up, Tone. So the video of the guy, this Mangione guy has a big old unibrow. He had a different color backpack on. There was just a bunch of things that, the internet loves a good, investigative story. So
yeah, I saw a couple things that looked interesting. The problem is it's like, it's hard to
Yeah, there's so many. I mean,
so many moving
supposedly
parts.
he left, they tracked some of his social media stuff, from years prior, and he was critiquing the healthcare system. I think there were some issues that his grandparents had. United Healthcare is known for the average, I think, decline of claims is like on average among healthcare, like 16-17%. United Healthcare is like 30+%. There's also open cases on that CEO having, some additional
insider trading
attention on him for insider trading. Nancy Pelosi's name was thrown in that list. Here's something that was interesting, though. This is how crazy the crypto world is. Luigi coin. Luigi coin. Listen to this. So after the suspected United Healthcare CEO shooter Luigi Mangione was captured, Luigi coin jumped 35,000%. Luigi coin hit a market cap of 55 million with 100 million in volume over the last 24 hours. Insane.
That's why crypto's a speculative market.
My gosh.
Luigi coin.
Luigi coin.
No usage, no use case,
Yep.
but just pump it.
Yeah.
Pump it.
And we'll get to some quick updates on where crypto's at. There was the Haktua potential rug pull and whether or not she's going to face criminal charges.
That was about the most obvious rug pull I've ever seen. Launched on the 4th of December, rugged on the 6th, I believe. Yeah, that was bad.
We got Ripple approval, some more info there. We got some updating on reports with big news on CPI and PPI coming out this week. I know you'll have some thoughts and some potential inputs there. Just to wrap up on the political front, Trump continuing to, be front and center with everything that he's doing. You've got something I saw today that was really interesting. Curious on your thoughts on this.
Hit me.
Any person or company, this was on his tweet today, any person or company investing $1 billion or more in the United States of America will receive fully expedited approvals and permits, including, but in no way limited to, all environmental approvals. That's what I'm talking about. Pull the red tape away. Give incentive and reason for foreign investors and or domestic investors to keep dumping more money into our amazing country. Create more jobs, create more taxes, create more benefit for the American people.
But only, not countries that don't like us. So no China, Russia. We don't need to get too friendly with one one country can't have too much. So yeah.
Yeah.
There needs some checks and balances, but
Agreed.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah. So saw that. Trump has noted that obviously based on what happened with the pardons from Biden, that he is potentially alluding to the fact that he's going to explore pardoning all and freeing all of the J6ers that have been imprisoned for however many years. I would assume that he's probably not going to pardon all of them, but
yeah,
you got the grandmas
but a
and
lot
the
of them.
dads and people that were just there.
Yep.
Right? That are actually facing some real hardship because of that. So he's working on that. We saw Doge, Speaker Mike Johnson came out, backed by Elon Musk and Vivek, in that they're plotting to eliminate 75% of federal government agencies. The current 428 agencies would be slashed to just 99. That's pretty big,
That's
pretty
a
bold.
lot of savings on payroll. I can tell you that. That money can go elsewhere.
100%. Saw that a federal judge has directed the FDA to disclose 1 million more pages from Pfizer's COVID vaccine trial documents, which was originally meant to stay sealed for another 75 years.
I think
that's a really big deal.
Yeah, I think they lost that case though a year or so back, and they're having to reveal those documents expeditiously.
Yep.
More expeditiously,
Which I think
is weird.
is-
Why don't we just show the whole damn document?
Which is timely for RFK getting in there if he does get approved for his cabinet seat, that he's going to definitely be digging into that documentation. There are some additional pardons being thrown around in the Biden regime, preemptive pardons, including Dr. Fauci. I would hate to see that. That guy deserves to see his day in court for all that he did. Liz Cheney, I mean, she's corrupt. She's a rhino. I don't really care too much about her. Adam Schiff, another guy that I believe should have some accountability. But man, if they pardon Fauci, that would be disappointing.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's going to happen though.
You do?
Yeah, they're already talking about it. So I feel like they said they weren't going to pardon Hunter Biden, and they did. So they're not saying they're not going to do Fauci. So I feel like they are.
I just think it's crazy. Trump was impeached.
Which that's just. I mean, that's slightly an admission of guilt. I'm not saying I want to tread lightly because people get pardoned on Trump's side. But what did Fauci do if he didn't do anything wrong?
Yeah.
What did Schiff do if he didn't do anything wrong?
Correct.
We
know what the J6er supposedly did.
Yeah, and
but we don't know what Fauci did.
Correct.
He didn't do anything wrong, right? You go down that list. So I agree with that. I just think it's wild that, Trump was impeached twice for trying to
attempted to be impeached.
Attempted to be impeached twice for trying to investigate all of the crimes that Joe Biden just pardoned Hunter for.
Yep.
Like, think about how crazy that sounds.
That's but here he is, he elected president. What a goat.
Amazing. Just to see this. What are your thoughts on Senator John Fetterman?
I think he's good. I just think
He
that
cracks me up, but
he's
he's
kind of
based.
he's wishy-washy because he used to be kind of great, or not so great. But now he's kind of coming out of the woods saying like, hey, I don't really support this liberal BS, and I actually think that some of the stuff they're doing is pretty good.
Yeah. Listen to this.
People are angry with him about it. What do you say?
Oh, well, I think it's undeniable that the case against Hunter Biden was really politically motivated. But I also think it's true that the trial in New York for Trump, that was political as well too. Now is that, and in both cases, I think a pardon is appropriate. And I really think collectively, America's confidence in these kinds of institutions have been damaged by these kinds of cases. And we cannot allow these kinds of institutions to be weaponized against our political opponents. And it's very clear both trials were politically motivated and weaponized that on the other side.
They'll say that about the J6 people too, though, right? That's what they're going to say on the other side. That is weaponized also.
I'm not referring to that. I'm talking about the New York trial. And now the Democrats on our side there were some that were gleeful, calling it like, now he's a convicted felon and those things. And now for our party, we were talking about criminal justice, and we are now talking about second chances. And now all of a sudden now you're like, well, he's a convicted felon and all these things. And now clearly, again, both of those trials, the Hunter Biden one and the trial in New York for Trump, that was politically motivated. And those kinds of charges would have never been brought unless one side they realize that they could weaponize that.
A lot of people.
So I thought it was great that he's talking about, hey, both sides, right? And that's just what people want. Just let's play down the center of the fairway. Let's be,
straight and narrow.
Yeah.
Yep.
100%.
Stop with the games.
All right. So moving over to CPI and PPI, what are we expecting this week? I am seeing that CPI may come in a little hotter. We're hearing more and more people say, hey, inflation isn't fully under control. What's the real word on the street with those that have access to real quality data and are cutting through a lot of the clickbait headlines that, inflation is still too hot and, it's ramping back up?
I don't think it is, because the Federal Reserve just came out and said that everybody is pretty certain not pretty certain. Jerome Powell came out and said that inflation data is in line. Everything's moving back the way it's supposed to. Everybody's in favor of cuts, but maybe after this next cut, they don't need to cut as fast because the trajectory of the data is pushing things in the right area. The thing that needs to get caught up right now, I think, for most individuals is like cost of groceries is still kind of lagging.
Yeah.
But that's really the only area.
Looks like global food prices jumped 5.7% year over year in November, hitting a 19-month high. Largest increase was seen in vegetable oil prices, which rose 32%. Same time, dairy and meat surged 20%, 5.9%. So food, right, seems to be at the center of what people are still feeling is running pretty hot. That's what you're seeing and feeling
correct
on a weekly basis when you're going to the grocery store, right?
Yeah, but at this point, I think people need to wake up and for the millionth time, it's not inflation. It's just corporations keeping prices high. Yeah. So I really do think that
there's a difference. I think people need to discern that too.
Well, yeah, and I think that's this is why price gouging should be illegal, in more heavily it is illegal, but more heavily enforced. And I think that corporations are price gouging Americans because they're used to paying those prices, but all you have to do is check their margins. Their margins keep going up and up and up and up because they're paying less for the same good, but they're keeping the cost the same.
They haven't passed that back to the customer.
Yeah, it's not inflation. It's corporate price gouging.
How do you regulate that without stifling capitalism and free markets?
Because they were making plenty of profit. What you do is you just go pour their pre-COVID average margins and you require them to run on those. They were making plenty of money then. Yeah. You don't need to make the margins that people are making to be profitable. You're extremely profitable when you do, but it's not good to be overly profitable in one area. It's almost like a company growing too fast. You neglect other areas or other areas don't get as much capital influx to them, and so they don't develop or they don't progress, and so you have one area that's moving forward and the rest of the market's kind of
Yeah, makes sense.
So
Hawk Tua, rug pull.
Yeah, definitely. It's pretty obvious rug pull. I don't know the details.
Is that rug pulls, is that now something enforceable enough to actually put people in jail for in the crypto space?
I don't think jail, no. Well, I don't. Depending on how big it FTX level, yes. That level, probably not. Probably just fines.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another problem with white collar crime. There's not hefty enough penalties, and there's ways, it's a monetary fine, and then you can get a BK or get around that. So
Bitcoin at 97 roughly right now, pulled back from breaking through 100.
And I was texting you, I think that's due to Google's quantum computer kind of making some headlines. It solved a problem that I believe our current supercomputers, it would have taken the equivalent of the age of the current known age of the universe for our next best supercomputer to solve. So that is a big deal and kind of makes the technology that currently exists pretty obsolete as far as blockchain and things like that, because you have something that can dig through and do stuff much faster and more efficient.
That is a big deal.
Yeah.
Now, another big deal that people in the crypto space are really interested in. Crypto's been, would we say, on a bull run?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Especially in the past month.
And seeming to have some more runway in front of it, or are we going to start seeing some pullbacks?
I'm sure both,
because
there's going to be definitive areas that will continue to go forward and some that are going to lose steam. Ripple Labs, the developers of XRP, got their ETF approved for their stablecoin, which I think is RLUSD, and that was approved by New York, which is like a big deal. In the finance world, if New York approves somebody, pretty much everybody's going to approve it because they have the most stringent regulations.
Mm-hmm. Well, definitely things to be paid attention to in the crypto world. New construction homes are hitting the market at 2007 levels in a time where we really need inventory. We need more supply to hit the market. The number of homes completed and under construction is now at 385,000 units, the highest since the 2007 housing market crash. Over the last 3 years, the supply of new homes has risen by 70%. Since 2012, the number of new homes for sale has more than tripled. The majority of these homes are in the southern and U.S. region, where levels are surpassing 2006 housing bubble levels. For the first time since 2005, the median new home is now cheaper than the median existing home for sale. That's a great thing right there.
Yeah, it is good.
That's a really good thing.
Yeah, that means new construction has a chance to...
The economics are falling back in line.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think the region in which we're seeing the majority of these homes, the South, you've got, in my opinion, cheaper labor out there. You've got, more affordable economics out there. So I think that's being kind of passed through.
Yep.
And the regulations in a lot of these states and counties and cities is not as stringent as you might find in many of these blue states. So
it's a lot lower.
So those are a lot of costs that, again, can be passed back on to the buyer of the home. So again, anything that we can get when it comes to more product and inventory coming online, I'm all for it. I love seeing that. Now, as we wrap up, anything that you and your clients, your customers, just people in your industry are talking about, are planning for to close out the year that you suggest people be leaning into, thinking about, conversating around when it comes to investments to wrap up this year, investments to think about and plan and, forecast for next year? What are you guys talking about in your circles?
We pretty much just end of the year's pretty vanilla. First half of the month, we get people that are retired, their RMDs, if they're at that age, out. That's done. Taxes are getting planned for. We'll have that start here in January, February. Business owners are making their final contributions to investment accounts. Just little things like that. But really, if you're starting to do that right now, you're a little late, because that should be something you do at the beginning of the year and that you revisit multiple times. And that's why you should have an accountant. If you're a business owner, you should have your P&L active so you know what you're doing and if it's working. And then this is also why you keep an advisor on hand, because then typically you can just focus on your work, which is what generates your income, and then you give your income to the advisor, and then it's laissez-faire from that point. So that really what we're doing, we're not doing anything crazy. We're pre-allocated for what we think the end of the year will show with the Santa Claus rally we think we have coming. I don't think we're going to hit the number that Goldman Sachs said. I wish we did. We would.
What was-
6,500 on the S&P. That's huge. Be like another 10%. But I think we're going to have a really good end of the year and
Beautiful.
push through really strong.
Well, if you are not planning, you're not talking with your, financial advisor, your wealth planner, this would be the time to do that. And if you haven't kind of audited where your portfolio is at, or you're not thinking about what you want to be doing next year, this would be a perfect time to get a free financial x-ray. Ryan and his amazing team do that for free for all of our Millionaire Mindcast listeners. So if you want to connect with him and his team, text the word x-ray to 844-447-1555. That's the quickest and easiest way to get over and connect with them. As we close this out, I thought I saw this in a cool little thread on X. Most people stay broke because they have the wrong money blueprint. According to Tony Robbins, in his Platinum Partners, which is like his $100,000 a year business mastermind, it's focused on business, but wealth building through business too.
Yep.
He kind of talks about the 3 levels of wealth according to him, which is level 1, financial security, getting to about 150 to 200K a year and just like being able to cover your basics, right? Level 2, financial independence, building a net worth of 3 to 5 million. And then financial freedom essentially says once you get to 10 million plus, you can do whatever the hell you want for the rest of your life,
Yep.
right? Like there may be levels beyond that of how extravagant you want to be, but in terms of like real freedom, being able to do what you want, when you want, with who you want.
Yeah, those numbers will make it happen.
Those numbers will make it happen. So first step is deciding what level you're 1 on and 2 committed to getting to next. That's why figuring out how real estate or your business or connecting with Ryan and his team, right? Financial planning, all of that collectively comes together, the holistic plan that we talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So that way you're making sure that you, 1, are clear of where you're at, and 2, the plan that you can execute on. I know for me, when I'm not clear on stuff, I just kind of float wherever my emotions but if I'm crystal clear on what I need to do, I execute.
Yep.
I get in the trenches
As most
and I
people
build
should be.
and I do, right? So if that's you, if I'm speaking to you, I would encourage you, right, to just do that quick audit. Where are you at? Where are you trying to get to next? What's those tiers and what actions do you need to be taking? And use this as an opportunity. I am of the mindset that, these next 4 years, while there's always going to be challenges and curveballs and, hurdles and things to get over, this is going to be one of the greatest wealth building cycles, in my opinion, that we have maybe ever seen in our lifetime.
If Trump has anything to do about it.
That's something that he wants to,
He's a stock market president.
to drive on his legacy. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. If you got any topics, questions, throw them in 844-447-1555. We will respond. We will definitely be looking to cover them, do more research, bring back the value to you guys in our upcoming episodes. Until then, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week.
Cheers.